Well, hello and welcome to Vets Clinic Live today on Wednesday the 30th of January. It's just me today. Jez is away. I've replaced him with a bag of Vet's Kitchen dog food, which will probably talk more sense, to be honest. So hello to you, Jez, if you're watching. We've got a cracking show for you today. We're trying to squeeze everything in today into half an hour, so don't go away. We're going to try and make it a bit more of a compact format today, rather than rambling on for sort of 45 minutes. We're going to try and get it in with half an hour, so stay with us for the whole time if you can. I've got some great guests coming up. I've got Alan Barnes, who's a local inspector for the RSPCA, who's going to talk about the work of the RSPCA, and Kate Bendix from a website called My Itchy Dog, which specialises in, as the name might suggest, everything to do with itchy dogs. So we're going to talk about itchy dogs, but also have a bit of a debate about conventional natural therapies, probably veer onto the hot topics of things like homeopathy and so on. So if you've got views on any of those subjects, let us know in the usual way on our Facebook page. We've already had some quite interesting comments on there. We've got that coming up, and we've also got a caption competition. As usual, we like to have a competition, and you can win, Jez, this bag of food that we've got here, either for your dog or for your cat, a bag of Vet's Kitchen food. And as usual, we've got our stunt dog in for our caption competition. It's Poppet, of course, Maria's dog Poppet, and today she's dressed up with a rather fetching bit of headgear. So if you can come up with a nice picture for Poppet, you could find yourself or your pet the proud owner of a bag of lovely Vet's Kitchen food. So we'll pop that picture up on Facebook. As usual, put your comments on there, and at the end of the show, we'll choose a winner. So that's the competition coming up. So I'm now just going to have a quick run through some of the news stories that are out there in the pet world this week. I haven't got Jez to sort of bounce them off, so it'll just be me. But if you've got thoughts on them again, let me know. It'd be good to have your feedback on any of these stories on Facebook. The first story we're just going to talk about is about Crufts. And this is a story about Crufts allowing dogs to have a cosmetic hairspray and other performance-enhancing products used, which sounds a bit strange, doesn't it? But apparently last year they didn't allow it, and they actually had testing going on. So they had hair samples were taken. We've got a photo here of a dog having this kind of treatment, and they took samples of dog's hair and tested them for things like hairspray. Which, it's amazing, isn't it, that the world of dog showing can get so kind of serious and obsessive that A, people need to use hairspray, and B, people need to do performance testing, tests for it. I mean, to me, it seems crazy. I mean, I've always been of the opinion that dogs are dogs and they should be companions first. If people want to show them, I guess that's fair enough. But really, we should be showing them as dogs, not as enhanced dogs. I mean, I guess it's the same as with people, with over-enhanced models, with cosmetic surgery and whatever. It sort of changes the perceptions of what's really achievable. And will people, if they see their dogs, all these dogs at Crufts, looking amazing, will that change their perceptions of what they really want out of a dog? And I think it gives the wrong message, really. I mean, I think if you're showing a dog, you should be showing a dog, not a performance-enhanced dog. But, I've never been a great Crufts fan, to be honest. So interesting to hear your thoughts. If you've got any thoughts on this, hopefully we've got a post on Facebook that you can leave your messages with. Keep me company here. We've got the photo of Poppet looking on there. She looks a bit Rastafarian to me. So there must be some kind of Rasta Poppet joke going on there we could do. So that's the first news story. The next one we've got is kind of linked to that in a strange kind of way, and that's to do with vulnerable breeds coming back from the Brink. And we talked about this in a previous show, I think, the fact that some breeds are getting more and more reduced in numbers, there's less puppies coming through, and some of these breeds might die out altogether. I'm personally not that worried about things. Again, I've never been really into all these pedigree breeds, but a lot of people love these breeds, so I guess it's good news from that perspective. Hello, Adrian. By the way, Adrian is coming up later on. He's having a busy day this morning, aren't you, Adrian? It's all busy days, he says. Yes, I think he's got about 10 operations in today. So we're hoping to grab Adrian between ops later on for our Q&A, but and he was planning to sit with me at the beginning, but he's too busy, which is good. But it means he's pretty tied up at the moment. But anyway, coming back to this story, so back from the Brink, and this is a story in the Independent. And it's certain breeds, so the English setter and some other breeds, but the English setter, 25% increase in new registrations, and people think that might be due to the whole sort of jingoistic British year of Jubilee and Olympics and things. So it's a very English breed, isn't it? But is that a good thing? I mean, do we want to resuscitate sort of breeds that may not be relevant to the modern world? Is an English setter really the right breed? Interesting point. Again, if you've got any comments, let me know. And the final news story is one that's really close to my heart, which involves food and pet food. And for a long time, there's been this debate between those who advocate sort of commercial foods, which contain rice and starches and other starches, and those on the other side of the argument who are very passionate raw feeders who say that carbohydrates are the devil, and dogs, their evolutionary background is of scavengers, but mainly meat eaters, so they really should be fed meat and vegetables. I've never believed in that opinion. I just think it doesn't hold water, because what's appropriate for a wolf 10,000 years ago is not necessarily appropriate for a modern dog. And in the news this week, in the very well-respected journal Nature, backs that up, is this new study which shows that dogs have evolved away from wolves, and in the last 10,000 years or so of domestication, have actually evolved genes which allow them to digest starch. So they've evolved alongside people. As ourselves, we've changed over that period of time to enable us to benefit from intensive agriculture. Our dogs have lived alongside us all that time, so they've benefited in the same way. So they've evolved those genes. So there's really is proof now that dogs really can and are evolved to eat grains and rice and other carbohydrates. I'm hoping that will take the wind out the sails of those people who say that the only way to feed a dog is on a high protein raw food diet. I'm not saying they're necessarily bad, those diets, and they can be fed perfectly well, but this gives some really strong evidence for the fact that you don't have to feed that way, and that diets with rice in it, like my good old Vet's Kitchen, are very valid and very healthy for dogs. So that's our look at the news stories, and as I said, it'd be good to have your feedback to see if we've had any feedback on our on any suggestions for our caption competition. Here we go. So we've got Gail who said, doesn't my head look big in this? Yeah, I think it does actually. Stuart said, what do you mean? Are they genuine? Of course they are. I guess you're referring here to as if she's going to be selling you some watches or something from under her coat. But yeah, keep those coming in, which is great. Next, we've got the first guest. We've got two guests coming up today. And our first guest is going to be really interesting to talk to. And it's Alan Barnes from the RSPCA. And he's going to talk to us all about the work of the RSPCA, some of the interesting cases. And then later on, we've got Kate Bendix from My Itchy Dog. Have a look at their website. Her website, it's great for a place for all the information about itchy dogs. So we're going to be talking about dogs, skin problems, and alternative therapies later on in the show. But coming up, we've got Alan from the RSPCA. Right, okay, well, I'm very pleased to be joined by Alan Barnes from the RSPCA. So just start by, what's your exact role in the organisation?
I'm an inspector.
Okay.
I've been an inspector with the RSPCA now for nearly 14 years. So I joined the RSPCA.
Man and boy.
Well, it seems like a long time. Yeah. It does. Although that 14 years has flown by because we're so busy, basically.
And where is that? Is that sort of local to us here in Swindon? Or
I frequent Swindon on a fairly frequent basis. I'm not the local officer. She couldn't unfortunately be here today, so I've stepped in.
Okay.
And I'm one of
the short straw.
I'm one of I'm one of the Bristol inspectors. So there's the Bristol group of inspectors, and there's about 9 of us. There should be about 13 of us. So we're a few men down, and because of that, it means we work even harder and have to travel greater distances to respond to complaints of cruelty and neglect.
And is that your mission, if you had to sum it up, the mission of the RSPCA inspector is to deal with sort of animal welfare issues of all kinds?
Yeah, very much animal welfare issues of all kinds and of all animals, from
a budgerigar to a horse or
a stick insect, mice, to gorillas, elephants. No matter what comes through, or comes down through the computer system from the control room in Doncaster. We've got these little handheld gadgets, PDAs we call them, and a job. You know when a job comes through because it makes a little noise. So you look at it, and you have to prioritise it.
And those jobs are generally come from members of the public.
Yeah.
A member of the public will say, "I've seen a horse stuck in a ditch or whatever."
Yeah, the public are our eyes and ears. We rely on the public not only to feed us information and to generate jobs for us, but also to respond to requests when we're investigating incidents.
And I guess the public are also actually pay for it through, because I mean, it's funded by donations, isn't it? And fundraising and a lot of it's from bequest, isn't it? Sort of, I suppose, typically the little old lady who leaves her fortune to the RSPCA.
Yeah, the RSPCA is obviously a charity. We're not affiliated or subsidised by the government in any way, shape or form. And I think head office like to remain autonomous because obviously some of their policies aren't necessarily what the government would like.
But I guess what you do locally is probably quite different. It's quite far removed from the head office down in Horsham, isn't it? So,
very much so.
Yeah. I mean, so tell me, what makes up what's your average working day like? What kind of jobs? I suppose it's hard to generalise, isn't it?
Do you know, one of the great things about my job, Joe, is that you never know what to expect. Like I say, when that PDA little gadget makes a noise,
could be anything.
It could be absolutely anything. You never know what's around the corner in this job, and that is, as far as I'm concerned, that's one of the great things.
It's a bit like being a vet, isn't it? We never know what's going to walk through those doors. There's a lot of routine stuff, but then suddenly you get the circus elephant that's been hit by a car in the car park, whatever. You just don't know, do you?
The work of an inspector and an animal welfare officer in the RSPCA, it's very varied, but it's also quite seasonal.
Right. Busier in the summer?
Much busier in the summer. Yeah. We're absolutely run ragged in the summer, and obviously in the spring with the newborn wildlife and abandoned newborn wildlife animals and the birds. And
it must be difficult doing stuff that could be prevented. I guess the classic is the newborn bird that's fallen out of a tree, and then someone picks it up and takes it to you, and you must think, look, get the message through if they just left them where they were in those kind of situations. Yeah,
it's very difficult with wildlife to know what's the right thing to do, and no matter how many years of experience you've got, when you attend, it's still very, very difficult. I think the control room up in Doncaster, when you ring the RSPCA on the 0300 number and you get put through to Doncaster, the staff up in the office do their best to try and inform people at that point. Right. So hopefully the fledglings that have fallen out there, that are still being fed by the mother bird or the parent bird, we will ask them to leave them well alone, but even then, some people will persist that they need RSPCA involvement, and then it's up to us to attend, whether it's cruelty, a complaint of cruelty, or like I've already said, a wild animal in distress.
And what about the other end of the spectrum, away from this kind of routine stuff? Have you got any examples of the more, I suppose, exciting but unusual cases that you have to deal with?
Yeah, well, I've got lots of examples, and every case is different. I think generally when somebody joins and is successful in joining the RSPCA, they don't join to prosecute people. No, that's not what I certainly didn't join the RSPCA to do that. And the RSPCA, the P stands for prevention. It doesn't stand for prosecution, and I think most of my colleagues look at it that way. And although the British public are absolutely, they're the best in the world, aren't they?
We've got that reputation, haven't we?
At loving animals. Unfortunately, there is always going to be, I believe there's always going to be cruelty out there. And sadly, from a personal point of view, I would say half a dozen times a year, I do have to report people to my head office, and a quite high percentage of those people will end up in court because they have neglected their animal or been cruel to them.
Today's economic climate, perhaps that's getting even worse because people can't can't afford to look after pets. They don't know what to do with them. So it may not be intentional. It's just they're victims of circumstance. And are you seeing a rise of problems related in that way?
I can't quote any stats off the top of my head, Joe, but I think generally speaking, the last 2 or 3 years has been a very difficult time, not just for the RSPCA, but for pet owners in general, because they don't have the money to spend on their animals that they probably used to have.
And would you, if someone is in those kind of circumstances where they're struggling to look after an animal, can they come and talk to the RSPCA, or would they talk to their vets or another animal charity?
I, as an inspector, would be only too happy if somebody had an animal in their care that they were responsible for, and they suspected that something was wrong with it, and they didn't know whether it needed to go to a vet or not. I would be happy as an inspector to pay them a visit. I would rather they rang us in advance and asked for my opinion, as opposed to leaving it and obviously leaving an animal to suffer.
So that's the P of prevention again, isn't it?
Very much so, yeah.
I mean, on the sort of subject of the more unusual cases, there's one in the news at the moment, which is just amazing. And I think we've got a picture here of this duck with a crossbow bolt through its neck. I mean, it just makes you sick to think someone would have done that. But it's amazing, isn't it? This duck is swimming around,
absolutely
apparently normally.
Yeah.
And the problem the RSPCA have got is I suppose trying to catch that duck.
Yeah.
So,
ducks are notoriously difficult to catch. They can take off like helicopters.
I was going to say, even with a crossbow bolt.
Yeah, I mean, if it can fly, it's going to be very difficult to catch. And sadly, we find with wildlife that are sick or injured in some way, shape or form, if we can't catch them, it's literally a matter of time until they go downhill. They may get an infection.
Because it's not. The duck can't. You can't see the duck surviving with that in its neck long term, can you?
I wouldn't have thought so. I mean, you'd probably know better than me. But I've come across this sort of thing myself before, where animals have been shot. Air rifles.
We see that all the time.
We see that a lot. I think those animals that have been shot with an air rifle, they do tend to get infected more readily, and then eventually we will be able to catch them. But that's sadly, we find that if we can catch them, it's often too late, and the injury or the infection is that bad that there's not a lot we can do.
No, but we don't want to end on a sort of sad note. But I mean, it is a fantastic service that you guys
try our best,
and without the RSPCA. I mean, I think if people are ever cynical about the RSPCA or questioning giving money to them, we need to think about what the world would be like without you guys. Well, it would be really unthinkable, wouldn't it?
It's kind words from you, and I thank you for that. We try our best. We can't always work miracles, and as I've said, we are a charity, and we are, as a charity, we're even limited. Some of the areas that we cover of an evening and at weekends are huge, and it may take us a couple of hours to get somewhere. But exactly, we would rather a member of the public called us than they didn't. It's better safe than sorry. We will do our best to get somewhere if we can.
Well, thank you ever so much for coming in today, Alan. It's been fascinating, and it's wonderful to hear what great work you do, and keep it up. That was Alan Barnes from the RSPCA. We've got coming up next, we've got a good friend of mine, Kate Bendix from My Itchy Dog. We're going to talk about itchy dogs and sort of homeopathic medicines, alternative medicines. Before we get to that, we've got a few comments coming in on Facebook. One from Jenny about the story about Cruft and hairspray, and Jenny said, hardly agrees with the Kennel Club slogan of fit for function, fit for life. I couldn't agree more. Yes, you don't really need hairspray to be fit for function, do you? So I agree with that. And we've got some more comments for our caption competition with Poppet, and we've got, Facebook has just disappeared. There we go. Where are these comments? Bear with me just a minute while technology catches up with me. It's disappeared. Right. Oh, I'm being handed another one. Look at that. Right. Right. So we've got some other comments here for the caption competition. We've got Debbie who said, which watch do I trust to tell me when my hair drying time is up? Becky has said, Rasta mouse. Yeah. Sue has said, now do I look like a watchdog? And Carrie said, disguise check. Right, have you got the keys to the getaway car? Yeah, brilliant. But I think we can come up with better than that. So let's see if we can come up with a really cracking caption by the end of the show. Next up, we're just going to play our sting, and then I'm going to be joined on the sofa by Kate Bendix. So start thinking about itchiness and alternative therapies, because that's what we're going to be talking about in a couple of seconds. Well, a very warm Vets Clinic welcome to Kate Bendix. I don't think I said Benedix last time, did I?
Bendix is...
Bendix, yeah.
Bendix.
It's a slightly unusual name, isn't it?
It is.
Benedix without the extra D.
Yeah, without extra...
Yeah, same with Inglis. Just before we start talking about itchiness and things like that, we've got a few more comments coming in on our Vets Kitchen Facebook page. And we've got Joanna said, just chilling. This is for our caption competition. Lucy said, having a hippie day. Absolutely. Lee, blinky, two for a pound, get them here. Heidi said, yep, this Rasta loves some pasta, but chicken and rice is so nice. And Clara said, and this is the dog singing, don't worry about a thing, because if you feed me, it'll be all right. Yeah, sorry about the very poor Bob Marley tune singing there, but I like that, that's good. Right, so Kate, let's move away from captions and talk about the serious business, which is itchy dog. So first of all, just introduce yourself to us about who you are and your itchy dog website.
Well, I started my itchy dog about 3 years ago, and I wanted to build a company that sold natural products that work for dogs with skin problems.
And is that because you'd had experience of a dog with an itchy skin? Or?
We have a Bedlington Terrier called Ronnie who gets severe flea allergies, and we had a cat as well who overgrooms and just pulls all her fur out.
And did you get frustrated by sort of going to the vet for sort of the mainstream treatment?
Essentially, yeah. And also, Ronnie's a very nervous dog. Getting him to the vets is a real trial. And we had antibiotics and steroids and various washes, and it just wasn't doing it. And we needed something that treated him very quickly if he got bitten.
And did you then explore various alternative therapies?
Yeah.
And they worked for you?
Yeah, well, I also explored various natural things, and I was looking for better food that was out there, and you just couldn't find it all in one place. We're looking for really healthy treats.
And that's why you set up the website to really, for people who are in that position, they've got a dog or a cat who's, is it dogs actually?
There is a little column for, my itchy cat, but mostly it's for dogs.
Right, okay, so people with dogs who are out there got that kind of serious itchy dog problem that isn't just a question of fleas, it's a more we're really talking about allergies, aren't we? So skin allergies, and there's advice on there, and then you sell the products to try and help. And there's kind of products you've got on there, so we've got some of them here. Just talk us through what you've got.
We've got Billy No Mates, which is a natural flea treatment. Okay,
I'm going to be here with my cynical scientific vet head on and go, how does that work? And is there any kind of, it's got seaweed, fenugreek, mint, and
lemon balm and neem.
Yeah, and neem.
And neem is the big ingredient in there.
Okay. And what is neem?
Neem is a vegetable oil. The best stuff comes from India. It smells. There's a pod of neem there. If you want to have a quick whiff of that, it doesn't smell the best.
That's quite nice.
See, people either love it or hate it.
I like that.
Yeah, I don't like it.
And this is like the idea theory of putting garlic in food and stuff. That the fleas just all go, oh, don't like that.
Neem is a very good anti-parasitic. It's good for. It's kind of got antibiotic properties to it, but they are not antibiotics. I'm not saying they are. I'm not saying they're a replacement, but they're very good for.
So this,
calming things down.
This would be something. So someone who perhaps reacts to a traditional flea treatment.
Yeah.
You put this in the food, and that'll help.
Or for a dog that doesn't actually, just become immune after they've used the same one all the time. So they might say, well, I'm not going to go into another conventional one, but I'm going to try this one, and they give it a go, and it either works or it doesn't.
And this in here is a resist herbal supplement to boost your natural immune system. It's
just pure echinacea, and in the same way that it can help with us, especially if you've got itchiness can be environmental allergies, as we said. It can be parasitic, it can be diet, and some dogs as well just get itchy skin when they run down. And if they've had long-term illness, if they've had quite a lot of long-term drug use, then it just gets them back up to strength.
I think there's definitely something to be said for that. I mean, we in the Vet's Kitchen Foods try and use natural added ingredients, things like prebiotics and glucosamine and stuff. And I suppose the boundary between what is a conventional and what is a natural doesn't have to exist really, because a lot of conventional treatments either come originally from natural products or are natural products, and some of them are synthesised analogues of a natural product. So there isn't necessarily a boundary between the two, is there? I mean,
no, not necessarily. And I think the word conventional and the word natural are just so hackneyed. They're just overused words that becomes an issue in itself. Just understanding that they actually can both work quite well.
Yeah, and your theory is really about that holistic, horrible word that it is, but it's looking at using, I suppose, all appropriate forms of treatment
Yeah.
and looking at the dog as a whole. So if they've got an itchy skin, it might actually be a problem with their diet, or it might be a problem with their stress or their environment
Yep.
or their immune system.
Exactly that. Exactly
Which is
that.
great. So if we just move it on, because we put this on Facebook a few days ago, we've had some very interesting comments back from people, I suppose, on this whole conventional versus natural remedies, so not specifically on skin. And it'd be interesting to get your viewpoints on these. So Julie has said, one of the first ones, which I think we both agree with, most modern medicines are derived from plants, so I think the use of both can be very effective if
Yep.
used properly. Yep. Sarah's asked about, do any of you guys use colloidal silver for poorly pet? We talked about this, and I mean, silver is an antibacterial. It's a recognised, it has antibacterial properties. It's not something I use here in the surgery.
Yeah.
Is something you've come across, or?
Well, yeah, we do sell. I do sell one product, a colloidal silver product from a company called Lint Bells, who make very, very effective things, and it's fantastic for cleaning out ears. And I use it on my cat Dave. Has got one really gunky ear, and it's oddly satisfying.
I mean, Louise has said that she uses that for a dog, and she also uses a lot of homeopathy. We're going to talk about homeopathy in a minute. Linda has said that I don't think one approach has to be at the expense of the other, which I think we're all agreed on.
Yeah.
I mean, she said she uses both, uses simple remedies such as arnica for bruising and other things, fenugreek, garlic, which I'm absolutely in favour of. I think they can work really well. But there are times when traditional medicine is paramount to importance, and I absolutely agree. And I would say things like vaccinations, treating really acute diseases. You don't want to rely, if you've got cancer in a dog, you don't want to rely on possibly will a herbal medicine.
No, and I've had people phone, I have had customers phone before and say, my dog has cancer, can you help? And I say no.
No, absolutely, and that's,
I may be able to give, maybe I'll help with something like echinacea to go along with, with your vet.
To support them while they're having chemotherapy or whatever.
But no, I would never go down that road.
The more contentious one comes from Kimberly, so hello Kimberly. And Kimberly said she uses herbal and homeopathic remedies with great success, and then she goes on to talk about the cost of normal medicines, which I suppose is a slightly different issue. And then we're talking about vaccinations, and this is a whole can of worms really, but Kimberly is sort of quite anti-vaccinations by the sound of things, and saying that her dogs and cats don't use alternatives, and also asking this question of why do people only have vaccinations every 10 years or 20 years, but we give them to dogs every year. And my viewpoint on that is quite strong in that vaccinations are wonderful things. They've got rid of so many really nasty diseases, and any potential side effects they have are absolutely nothing compared to the wonders that they do to protect our animals. So we really should be we should be vaccinating our animals, and that herbal, homeopathic alternatives just don't work. They're not an equivalent to vaccination. In terms of why we do vaccinations more frequently, it's all down to the evidence of particular different vaccinations and different animals. So what works in a person may not be the same in a dog. We can do research about how long these vaccines last, and different vaccines will last different length of time. So a dead vaccine is not going to last as long as an inactivated live vaccine. So different diseases need different frequencies of vaccination. And what we're doing nowadays in the veterinary profession is actually looking at the evidence and saying, well, actually, we don't need to do parvovirus, distemper, hepatitis vaccinations every year. We'll do those every 3 years. But leptospirosis only lasts we can only guarantee it for a year. It's a really serious disease. It's really important to do that every year. So I think there's a lot of good evidence for why we vaccinate the regime we do, and varying from that is not only putting your own animals at risk, but it's putting the whole population of animals at risk because of this herd immunity phenomenon where if the level of vaccination in the population drops down to a certain level, then the diseases become more prevalent. So sorry to be ranting on about that.
But it's true, but also, again, it's another moderate approach. Some things work, so why not use them?
Exactly.
It doesn't matter if they're conventional or natural. If they work.
Exactly, if they work and if they're safe, which, vaccinations are definitely safe. I mean, there's some reactions, but the risk about, certainly with cat vaccinations, where there's the most worry, I think, about them being linked to skin tumours. I mean, the risk is incredibly low. It's, 1 in 100,000 or whatever it might be, which is far lower than the risk of catching feline leukemia if you're an unvaccinated cat. So, you have to look at the evidence on those kind of things. And Linda has come up on the same point in saying that, again, lots of vets do not recommend yearly boosters, and she's really making that same point, really. Both her and Kimberly talk about raw diets, which I guess we're straying off the point slightly here. And finally, Amanda has sort of said about, again, using homeopathic natural remedies on my child since he was born. I mean, personally, and this is my personal opinion, I don't have any time for homeopathy. I don't think it does anything, and I think
I've used it occasionally myself with mixed.
You can't really draw an opinion on whether it works for you or not. Is irrelevant really, because it might just be coincidental. You have to look at the evidence, and there is no scientific evidence that it's any more than a placebo effect. Or so I just think, you know, I'm driven by what the evidence is, what we know works, and I don't want to waste people's time and money using something that...
No, and it's something I used to stock, and something I did quite a lot of research into. And the feedback I had from my customers was, it doesn't work for us.
Yeah,
and so purely from that point of view, it's just pointless.
With things like itchy dogs, it's so subjective, because you can have an itchy dog and then I could give a conventional medicine or homeopathy and it might get better, but it doesn't necessarily mean there's a causal link process. No. It might have been going to get better anyway, it might be coincidental. So it's very hard sometimes. Has there been little improvement in your dog? And so it's really hard. But I guess coming back to my itchy dog and what you're doing, you're sort of saying, well, we'll look at all of these options, put it all together, and hopefully the mix is going to make your dog less itchy.
Quite often I'll get an email that says, my dog has itchy ears, can you recommend something? And I can't. I usually say, what's your phone number? And we have a conversation. What are you feeding your dog? Is there a reason it could be anxious at the moment? It could be all sorts of things. Has their diet changed? Is their exercise changed? What's going on? And until you've had that conversation, you really can't recommend anything.
No, so you've got to really understand the pet and understand their problem. So, good. Well, we're pretty much out of time. So, thank you so much for coming in, and just to let people know want to find out more. The website address is
myitchydog.co.uk.
So thoroughly recommended for advice on itchy dogs, and we've got that up on the screen, I think. And it's an interesting debate, so we can carry this on Facebook, and would you mind joining into our debate and adding your 2 penneth in. So thank you very much, Kate.
Thanks for having me on.
Lovely to see you. And coming up in the show, we're pretty much near the end, so we're trying to cut down to get in with half an hour, and we've failed on that already, but hopefully we're going to drag Adrian out of the operating theatre, and we're going to have a quick chat about diets for your dogs in the final part of the show. And we're going to do our caption competition, so last chance to get your captions in for the picture of Poppet, and we'll see you very shortly. Well, that was great, and my thanks to Kate for coming up here and sharing her thoughts on that. And I really would urge you to go to her website, myitchydog.co.uk, and have a look around if you've got a problem with an itchy dog. And for the final part of the show, joined by our rather overworked and harassed head vet, Adrian Thornton.
Hello.
So what are you up to out there? Busy?
Just mainly routines. We've got some medical investigations to go now, so that's where we're up to. I'll wait and see. Potentially, maybe coming to a show near you soon.
Right, yes. Is that actually one of the dogs? Is that the dog with the knee?
Yeah.
Knee, little Westie we saw. I think we filmed actually, so we might put this out in one of our feature shows. But a little Westie with a rather strange history of both knees sort of going, and you're going to be X-raying that.
Potentially, it seems much better today. So.
I think we've had that kind of problem. It got because when I saw it on Saturday, it was hopping literally. Couldn't
see the video.
Yeah. Interesting to see how you get on with that. But we're just very quickly going to talk about diet. Just about suitability, the importance of choosing a right diet for your dog, and how we can address certain health issues with that. So I guess I'm more of a nutritionist than things. But from your point of view, as a vet, how often do you use diet in the mix when you're treating a condition?
It depends very much on the condition. I mean, in some conditions it's really important, possibly more important than any medication you put them on. So things like diabetes, that getting the diet right is as important, sometimes more important than getting the insulin dose right. Dogs or cats with inflammatory bowel disease or pancreatitis, again, you can fill them full of steroids and all sorts of drugs, but actually changing the diet is as, if not more important. Arthritis can do it, obviously obesity and obesity related things, the diet is important there. Skin disease and other allergies, so a whole wealth of things that can improve. Even things like asthma have been shown to improve with dietary therapy alone.
So it can play a very big role in what we do sort of clinically. And what about for the importance, in your opinion, of the quality of diet generally? So, how important is it? Do you see dogs that you think, and cats, that they're suffering not because they haven't got the right diet for a specific medical condition, just because they're being fed a rubbish diet? Yeah,
I think you do see that. I mean, I think rather than, in some cases you'll say, right, this is the right diet for that animal. I think more commonly what you say is this is the wrong diet for that animal. So there are all sorts of diets that they might be okay on, but this one in particular isn't suitable for them, medically speaking, or not so, and just might not be thriving on that diet.
The classic issue, I suppose, is the hyperactive dog who's being fed a diet full of colours and and I guess obesity is another one, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Being fed too rich a diet or too much of it, I guess, is more likely.
Yeah, I think generally speaking, the better quality of ingredient that goes in, the same for what we eat, and the less rubbish that goes in as well, the better off the animal will be. That's not to say though that I haven't seen unwell animals on the top end of the range, and I've seen animals that have been ancient and absolutely fine that have been on the lower end.
Same with people, isn't it? I mean, you can have a really healthy diet yourself, you're 5 a day, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to stay healthy, but hopefully it gives you a better chance.
Other people out there that just eat pizza and seem to be absolutely
live
fine.
120.
It's about hedging your bets and what fits your animal and playing the odds, and generally if you feed a better quality diet, you're going to be better off.
Cool. Lovely. Well, we're going to have to call it a day there, because we're on this mission to get our show nice and sort of in time, and I know you need to get back and start.
That's why you've kept me to a limit.
Exactly.
I
speak so we need to get you back to operating, get you working out the back there. So thanks for that, Adrian. If you want to head off, you can.
No, that's fine. We're not quite ready to go. I'll help you judge the answer.
Fine, help me judge. Well, so we've got all these. This is for our caption competition. We've had a few more coming in. We've got Just Chillin' Man. Am I posing for the Hare and Hound public house advert? This is the picture, by the way. Then we've got some on the Vet's Kitchen page as well. It's a reefer day. I think my favourite, just because it means I get to sing again.
Don't sing again, no.
Can I sing again?
Go on then.
Don't worry about a thing, because if
people switching off all around the country,
it'll be all right. I think the winner is going to go to Claire McLean for her musical caption for the picture of Poppet. So thank you very much everyone for their entries. Again, we'll have another competition next week, but a bag of Vet's Kitchen food will be winging its way to you, Claire. We'll be in touch and find out which variety you want, dog or cat. So thanks ever so much everyone for that, and thanks all for being in touch and your thoughts on all the debates we've had. Hope you've enjoyed the show. We are going to be moving our show to the evening slot, and I think I'm right in thinking that's going to be next week. We are, yes, I'm getting a nod from behind the camera. So we're going to be moving to a 6 o'clock slot. Watch Facebook for absolute confirmation, but next week I'm fairly sure we're going to be on Wednesday at 6 o'clock in the evening, because we think that's going to be a more convenient time. We did the research, looked at when people would want to come in, would be able to watch. So we're going to be moving to the evening, hopefully enable more people to watch. So we look forward to seeing you next week at 6 o'clock on Vets Clinic Live. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you then. Cheerio.